Hello, defensive ends. Welcome back. We are going to begin with the part 2 of our series here, and we're going to jump into understanding the read of the defensive end. And before we move on, just remember there are the self-correct statements at the bottom of each slide that help us understand what's going on. And during the process of your read, when you're engaged with that offensive lineman, just remember, are my pads lower than his pads? Are my knees bent? Am I peeking into the backfield or in the wrong gap, which I should never do? Are my feet too close together? Do I have a poor base? Am I getting driven back? These are all things that you need to make sure that your knees are bent, you're staying in your gap, you're not peeking into the backfield to find the football, and are my feet too close together, meaning am I getting driven back? So just remember those ideas when you are in the process of your read. And the self-correct for the read, when you are hitting that offensive lineman and controlling him, you need to ask yourself 3 questions, and the 3 simple questions. Is he trying to block me? Is his helmet up? Or is his helmet disappearing? If he's trying to block me, at this point we know that we're trying to read the block, control the gap, and then pursue the ball. If he's not trying to block you, you got to go to question 2. Is his helmet up? If it's yes, then I'm starting my pass rush progression, getting my eyes on the QB. If his helmet is not up, go to question 3. Is his helmet disappearing? Then, yes, you need to close and look for your first threat, which is your second level key. And that's what we'll get into in the next couple of slides. But if it's no, read your block, control the gap, pursue the ball. And we need to look for our next level read after that too. So you need to make sure, if its helmet is disappearing, then you need to make sure that you close right away and look for that first threat. So our first read, and I have to make something very clear. You have to believe in your key. When you think, that means you stink. You must react. You cannot think about what's going to happen. You must react to what is happening. That is that simple. That's how a defensive lineman plays. We don't guess. We do our job. We do our 1/11th. So your key is going to take you to the ball and nothing else. So our first level reads are those of the tight end, because every end needs to know both positions, both bend and rush. So if you're in the rush position and you have a tight end, that's going to be your first level physical key. And your bend, it's going to be the hip or helmet of the tackle, which we talked about that, but we'll get to that later. Now there are 5 schemes that we're going to talk about in regard to the rush end. Pass, a down scheme, he's trying to cut us off, double team or stretch, and arc. For pass, we're going to do this all at the end for each one. So our pass, the helmet will pop up, but we'll talk about that toward the end for each key. What I want to focus on right now is a down scheme by our tight end. Basically, the tight end is trying to base or block our tight end down into the ball to run the ball on the outside. Here's the tight end. Here's our rush end. If you look here at the get-off, he's trying to block down. Now, our defensive end has a good stance inside here. His helmet is below that tight end. I'd like to get this hand on the inside of the sternum if I can, but he has good position. Now, your job is to challenge and fight back to that tight end so he does not move you down into the line or does not wash you down. And if you look right here, he is stoning him right in that spot, and he's neutralizing the line of scrimmage and staying in the C gap. If you get a better view here from the end zone, here's our defensive end, here's our tight end. He's in the C gap. I'd like to see his head a little bit more right here, but right now there's a little bit of a gap right here, but he shuts it down right there at the last minute. If he can fight him off to where he's in perfect position, like you see right here, that's good position. That's where we need to be in that C gap. So we challenge that tight end to make sure that he is not pushing us down and we're in the C gap on a down scheme or a base scheme. The next scheme we're going to focus on is when the tight end is trying to cut you off. His helmet will try to cross your face, and he'll try to gain inside position on you so you don't come across the ball and try to make the play. And in this case, your job is to extend your inside arm, drive him down the line, and look for the cutback while you still sit in the C gap. We cannot get cut off by the tight end as to make sure we are prepared for the cutback block if the play is going away from us. So in this case, I've showed you this clip before, but it's the same one where we see our tight end here, our rush end, and our tight end here, and he's going to try to step. Now right there, our tight end is in bad shape because he has a little bit of an angle here. So he doesn't stop though. You can see that he continues to drive and lock out and push with that inside arm. He drives him into the line to close that C gap. And you can see it here as he tries to cut him off. He squares himself up to the line and keeps driving him inside. We don't want to create any type of gap right here. So we need to make sure we shut that down so there's no gap for him to cut back. And he does that by collapsing him down into the line. So that is the cutoff scheme. The next scheme we want to look at is the double team, or what we call the stretch scheme, where we're working, where the tight end and tackle are working together. By far, the hardest block to defeat is the double team stretch key. Now, what's going to happen? The helmet will come to your outside shoulder. It'll pressure your outside shoulder pad because the tackle's helmet is now going to step toward you and pressure your inside. You are fighting off a double team. Now, in this case, you want to attack the tight end and split the double team or string out the play to hold the line. You cannot give ground. And you'll see why as we progress. So in this case, here's the tight end stretch read. And you can see the tackle. He comes off rather quickly from that block. But he's pressuring your outside shoulder, and he's playing it real good. On the inside, he's pressuring his inside shoulder, punching him off. He's stringing the play off. So therefore, he doesn't create an angle. He doesn't lose the flank, so to speak. And he causes the play to bounce outside to where our athletes are sitting out there. Same idea right here. This is what cannot happen. As you can see, he gets pushed off the ball, and it creates an angle. They gain 10 yards. If this is going to happen, you need to get skinny and fall in between. You cannot get hung up. You need to get skinny and fall in between the two tackles as to create a pile in this case. We cannot allow ourselves to get, if 3 yards is all they need. So rush end has a very important job on the flank. Okay, the final read for the tight end is the arc release, in which the tight end will take a wide angle step to the outside to try to avoid contact so he could either get out into a pass route or go block an outside backer. Either way, it's important that you don't chase him outside to widen the C gap. You get a hand on him, and you have to snap your eyes to that next level read or that physical read, which is the tackle. The tackle should already be out of the corner of your eye. You should be reading him, and we're going to get into those reads here in a moment. But the arc release is a quick release from the tight end to avoid contact. So here's a clip of a arc release from a tight end, and it starts here with our bend end, and then the tight end will trade. And so our bend end will now become our rush end. You can see that his feet and his stance has changed. And now he's lined up in a 6 technique on the tight end. And at the snap of the ball, this tight end is going to chip and then release outside. When I say chip, he's going to try to get a hand on our bend end. But right now, our bend end is reading that tackle, okay? Because he knows that the tight end has released took a chip step, and he's gone outside. Okay, so this is an example of an arc release. Here's another example of a tight end arc release. Our defensive end up top here did not play this well because he got knocked over, but you can see he takes a wide angle step to get outside and block that free safety. So that is another example of an arc release. It looks like our tight end or our defensive end was out of bounds. So this ends this second installment, and we'll come back with a third installment that will talk about the reads of the tackle.